I decided I'm going to try to play a longer time control game and see what we get in classical time controls. Now, we may have some interesting games, and it's kind of a double-edged sword. I figure I'm going to have to wait for a minute for a game because there's not nearly as many classic rated games that happen on Lichess. But it will satisfy the people who are like, oh, you're going too fast. But honestly, the pattern with the channel is when I post videos that are longer than 15 minutes, we get like a third of the viewership that when I post a 10-minute video. And let's go with D4. We're playing a player who's only played 12 blitz games, but he's never played standard game before. I've never played a standard game before. Why am I 1200 and he's 1500? I don't know. Okay. QGA. I believe E3 is going to be one of the more straightforward ways to go. And we are looking. I mean, knight c6 is a bit out of place. Normally, black wants to play like knight f6 and e6 and c5. Is this move really okay? I just want to go d5. Because if you take, he trades queens, the knight gets a decent square, I'm getting kicked around. Why allow any of that when I can go d5? And if knight a5, queen a4, c6, takes, knight takes. Seems straightforward. Or should I leave the knight over there? I don't know. Knight e7 or knight a5. I mean, knight a5 seems more natural because it makes a threat. Knight b8. We see knight b8. Feel pretty confident that my opponent is not using any assistance. None of the above. This one I did not have on my radar because I felt it was just bad. And if I go a3, you go away now, okay? And I think a lot of people would have the impulse to go, oh, the knight's on a6. I'm going to take it. Well, this bishop's good. That knight will suck. Why help? Keep tension. The knight's, I mean, if the knight goes somewhere, it goes here. And then where's it going from there? It's going to get kicked by b4 and I gain more time. So I want to target this guy. If I go knight f3, he goes e4. I don't necessarily want to allow that. So I'm going to start off with knight c3 and then see how he reacts to the position. And I'm leaving ideas open. Say, for instance, if queen g5, knight f3, queen takes g2, rook g1, and willing to sacrifice in order to get play. c6, definitely not my first choice. If I take now and then take here, that will be a pawn in hand. And I feel like he's just going to try to trade. Takes, 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 queen takes, king takes, bishop e6, for instance. Knight f3. Looks good. I'm going with it. Yeah, it's better to keep the knight flexible. King's safe with the queens off the board if I take on d1. Should be no problems. Uh-huh. Hits the pawn. You get one, I get one. Double checking. When you have time, you use the time. Don't see any reason why I shouldn't take. Bishop d7 is met by knight takes, where the king is going to be out in the open. Let's tuck the nugget away. Look to have rook there, push the pawn up to get the bishop out. Very clean position. Black's king will never find safety. So I feel like he's in deep doo-doo here. And should I play e4 first? Yeah. I want the flexibility to have this bishop in the game. Very important to use all your pieces. May very well be able to use the d5 square for the knight, and it's anchored by a pawn. So it is definitely flexible. Well, if you want to go about it that way, let's do this first. Put the question to the queen. Queen b5. I'm going to go back to d1 in order to reroute to g4. Because say, for instance, queen b5, queen c2, knight d4 gets a tempo. That's arguably the best move because it has to fix the pawn structure. See, I was expecting a mediocre move though. So if I go b4, actually, let's see if we can't. Oh, that's interesting. Bishop f4, queen takes b2. And then if rook b1, bishop takes f2. King h1, queen e2. But then I have rook b7 and I'm winning. So okay, you just have to check those like in between tactical moves that deflect. But again, his king is wide open. And that's typically worth a lot. You can have the bishop. I'm taking the knight with check. And you're going to be hard pressed to survive. Just mate. All right, not much to look at in this first one in classical games. So I haven't had a Queen's Gambit accepted in a while. So I'll be honest, I can't remember the theory that well. E3 scores the best. And I'm used to seeing lines that isolate the d-pawn. So this is a good one, where you get this type of position, and as I've talked about numerous times on the channel before, how to play against isolated pawns. Black needs to blockade it, trade off all the minor pieces, and win the ending by piling up on the d-pawn. White, on the other hand, needs to play for an attack and keep pieces on the board. So, overall plans, don't be trading down if you can help it, or if you can change the pawn structure to get this pawn, say, here, or this pawn here to support that pawn. You don't have to worry about your ISO anymore. But knight c6, that isn't going to fit the bill. Let's turn on the engine to see if it have improved. It likes knight f3 better. I like the forcing move d5, which provokes knight a5. And I was considering this line. Queen b3 was not on my radar as much. I believe I was going to play knight f3. And we're following a game by Linderman and Elvis from 2016. Linderman did not do that. What did Linderman do? Knight f3? Nope, he didn't do that either. That's what I would have done. Let's see. But knight b4, notice the engine did not recommend taking immediately because it's a bad piece. And on c6, knight f3 does make some sense, but I saw the pawn in hand. What was I missing in this line? That. Now he can just cleanly pick back up the pawn. That's why it's equal. So, crappy foresight on my part. For the time that I had to think in the game, very weak play. I'm going to have to play a lot better if I plan on climbing up the ladder much more. I did evaluate queen b5, queen d1 properly. Or if a move like f5, knight c3. And I liked the queen over here, where I felt like black would not be able to survive long. Bishop comes out and the rooks can get to good squares. b4's a threat. I mean, everything's going for me because his king's wide open. But after queen b8, nothing much doing there. And that'll do it for this first one.